Okay, so let's talk about it. After years of controversy and a pretty dramatic break, the Victoria's Secret fashion show made its huge return in 2025. This was a massive gamble to try and reclaim its spot in pop culture, but believe me, the world was watching with a very critical eye.
So, yeah, after basically being kicked out of the cultural conversation, the lingerie giant staged its most ambitious comeback yet. This wasn't just another fashion show. It was meant to be a statement, a huge declaration that the brand was ready to fly again.
And that's the big question, right? In this explainer, we're going to break down the whole spectacle, the strategy behind it, and the seriously divided reaction to figure out if Victoria's Secret is actually ready for a new era or if the ghosts of runways past are still haunting them.
All right, first things first. To really get why this comeback was such a big deal, we have to go back and remember exactly why the most famous fashion show on the planet got canceled in the first place. I mean, just look at this timeline. It really lays out the crazy speed of their rise and then their fall. Back in the early 2000s, the show was an absolute cultural juggernaut. But by the mid 2010s, the criticism was getting louder and louder until, boom, they shelved the show in 2019. After a kinda quiet, rebranded return in 2024, they came back with this massive 2025 show we're talking about today.
So, it wasn't just one thing that brought the Angels down, it was kind of like a perfect storm of cultural shifts. That one size fits all bombshell ideal just felt totally out of touch as the body positivity movement took off. You had competitors championing inclusivity, and the show's whole male gaze vibe just wasn't connecting with the women they were actually trying to sell lingerie to.
Okay, so that was the problem. How did Victoria's Secret try to fix it? Well, for their big comeback, they didn't just tweak a few things. They tried a massive course correction across the entire show.
And right off the bat, the most obvious change was who they put on the runway. They really tried to build a bridge between the past and the future. You had icons like Adriana Lima and Gigi Hadid back, but walking right alongside them were trailblazers like transgender model Alex Consani, plus-size model Yumi Nu, and even history-making athletes like WNBA star Angel Reese and Olympian Suni Lee. But look, the changes went way beyond just the models. They moved the whole show to the industrial Brooklyn Navy Yard for a grittier, more modern vibe. They streamed it for free on YouTube and Amazon Prime to get it in front of as many people as possible. They even hired Adam Selman, who used to work for Savage X Fenty, as their new creative lead. The whole energy was different too, with an all-female lineup of performers, where Carol G actually became the first artist ever to perform in Spanish. So, they did all this stuff, they put on this massive show, but did anyone actually like it? Well, that's where things get complicated. And let me tell you, the internet had a lot of thoughts. The reaction was basically split right down the middle, and it really shows you this tightrope they're trying to walk. On one hand, people praised the diverse casting, and it got a ton of social media buzz. But on the other hand, a lot of critics called it performative, pointing out that most models were still straight-sized. And the longtime fans, they felt that the over-the-top, magical spectacle they loved was just gone. And this comment from social media pretty much sums up one of the biggest complaints. People felt the outfits, the very heart of the show, looked cheap, almost like fast fashion, a huge departure from the super luxe fantasy designs of the past. And it wasn't just the clothes. Even the famous wings, the centerpiece of the whole fantasy, got dragged. Instead of being these awe-inspiring works of art, they became memes, with people comparing them to everything from mattresses to those travel neck pillows. Ouch. And speaking of wings, get this. Bella Hadid's wings weighed a staggering 50 pounds. Viewers noticed right away that she was really struggling to walk, looking wobbly and uncomfortable under all that weight, which made a lot of people question the design choices. This one really hits home because for a company that sells lingerie, this was seen as a massive fail. On model after model, people pointed out that the bras, the core product, just didn't seem to fit right, which kind of undermines the entire point of the show, doesn't it? And finally, a lot of people just missed the fun. The original Angels were famous for blowing kisses, winking, and selling this amazing party vibe. In contrast, many viewers felt the 2025 models looked bored or just low energy, swapping that signature charm for a sort of I'd rather be anywhere else stare. Okay, let's be real. You absolutely cannot talk about the VS comeback without talking about the brand that completely changed the game while they were away, Rihanna's Savage X Fenty. And this chart really breaks it down. See, Savage X Fenty didn't just add inclusivity to an old formula, they built their entire brand around it from the get-go. It's theatrical, it's high energy, and it truly celebrates all kinds of bodies, instead of just including them. They set a whole new bar, and now that's the bar Victoria's Secret is being measured against. And this right here, this is the core challenge for Victoria's Secret. The rebrand feels too slow and maybe not genuine enough for the new, diverse audience they're trying to win over. But at the same time, it's alienating their original fans who miss the old glamour. It brings up this huge question. Is this change real, or is it just a marketing strategy to get people to buy things again? And if you look at the money, the numbers tell a similar story. They're seeing really strong growth internationally and in their physical stores, which is great, but their online sales have actually dropped a bit, which suggests that the digital-first customer, the one they really need to convince, isn't totally sold yet.
So, after all the hype, all the drama, and these mixed results, what's next? Where does Victoria's Secret go from here?
Well, officially, the company has this three-step plan they're pushing. First, strengthen their core identity. Second, boost growth by adding more product lines. And third, change the whole foundation to focus on global expansion and something they're calling product-driven entertainment. And look, we have to give them credit for one thing. The show absolutely succeeded in getting everyone talking about Victoria's Secret again. Love it or hate it, the brand was back in the conversation, and you have to assume that was goal number one. But, buzz fades. The real test now is whether this new identity shows up in every single product, every ad campaign, and every store. Can they prove to a pretty skeptical world that this change is for real and that it's here to stay?
And that leaves us with this one last thought, which really gets to the heart of this whole thing. It's a challenge so many iconic brands are facing today. Is it actually possible to evolve without losing what made you famous in the first place? Or, in this case, will the weight of those old wings always pull you back down to earth?